speaker for this afternoon. Our speaker has nearly 20 years as a coach, organizational development consultant, author, trainer, and facilitator. Actually, he is the author of a book called Developing Exponential Power. He specializes in maximizing senior executive development and performance through his coaching, consulting, and training services. He focuses on coaching senior and high-performing executives and teams for the world's largest corporations. Among them are Samsung, Mercedes-Benz, Porsche, Unilever in 11 countries, Lufthansa, San Miguel Corporation, Citigroup, and many other more. He finds meaning and much success in assisting executives in building global teams that produce breakthrough results. He is passionate about accelerating these clients' personal and professional growth. Ladies and gentlemen, let's all welcome the Global CEO Coach, President, and CEO F1C International, Born to be Wild, Bjorn Martinoff.
It takes one to warm on. Born to be wild. Pamilagi Town. Let's give her a big hand. I'm happy and excited to be here this afternoon. Let's see if everybody's fully present. Please raise your right hand. Right hand. Very good. Put it on the shoulder of the person next to you and say, "Thank you for being here." Awesome, awesome. Now raise your other hand, the other hand. And put it on the shoulder of the person on the other side of you and say, "You're beautiful." Maganda. Yes, right? Very good. I'm going to turn my timer on because they gave me a total of 25 minutes. Very good. So executive coaching is an OD tool. So today, given that we only have 25 minutes, we're going to go into the core of the subject. Yeah? I think most of you already know what executive coaching is. This is me in H1. Can you recognize the guapo face? Yeah. At H2 I was a little bit more sophisticated. If the clicker works. There we are. Right, already much grander looking, right? So I'm originally from Germany. I also lived in Belgium, the US, and now I live in Makati City. I've been in the Philippines for almost 12 years, since January 2003. Married to a Filipina from Mindoro. She used to be the beauty queen of Calapan City in her younger years. We now have 4 children, and I'm a global CEO coach, meaning I mostly work with CEOs and their immediate teams, right? So likely we're the only company in Asia focusing just on that level alone, yes? I always have to say how tall I am, because otherwise people cannot hear anything else I'm saying. So are there any guesses out there? How tall am I, do you think?
6'4".
6'4".
6'5".
6'5". 6'8". Let's give her a hand! 6'8". Fantastic, fantastic. And the other measure I'll probably tell is I'm 265 pounds. I used to be 365 pounds about a year and a half ago. Yeah. So, and I lost 100. This is our tagline: unleashing executive potential and unleashing results. Yes. We did some work with Mercedes-Benz. The clicker is not working very well. The clicker is not working very well. Maybe we can change the batteries. So this is Mercedes-Benz before. We worked with them, and then you see people didn't get along. Yeah. And then we have Mercedes-Benz after. Yeah, very, very different picture. Now when you can see the faces, of course both pictures were taken afterwards, but we asked them to represent what it was like beforehand, before the intervention. Yeah? So rapid transformation is here and possible today. And when we look at executive coaching and OD interventions, they really have at their core the same purpose, right? It is we want to drive the development of the people, and with the development of the people, we want to drive the results. Yes? So these are some of our clients around the world. Mostly we work all over Asia, between as far south as India and Sri Lanka, and as far north as Beijing and Tokyo. Yeah. This is pharma industry clients and BPO clients. Recently we've also had lots of banking clients. We support a lot of charities. A big part of our revenue goes straight into charity as soon as it comes in. So please pay us on time, because as soon as you pay us, they will also get paid. Yes. And so here's a list that I found very interesting. The most effective versus most popular interventions. You know? So you see in-house development programs on the top of the list in terms of most effective. And internal secondments in coaching is in third place, yeah, in terms of effectiveness. Interesting? And down the line it goes. Yeah? What's interesting also is that because it's effective, it's not necessarily the most popular. That doesn't always match up. Yeah? Very good. So Albert Einstein says, genius is making complicated things simple. Yeah, so taking something that's complicated and making it very simple. And the question is today, what if rapid growth was possible and in any economy? And what if that was truly possible? And here are the two reasons why businesses grow. There's only two reasons businesses grow. A, the market grows. Yeah, there's not much we can do about that. We can only write it, you know, in terms of the market. But the second opportunity here is as you grow, yeah, you get better. That's the two controls there are. That's the two factors that control our business. Yeah? One we can't do anything about, but the other one we can. And the interesting part is that many times when the market goes down, the first thing gets cut is what? People development. Right? The only other way our business gets better, it gets cut. Even though that's how we can survive, even in a downturn economy. And how's the economy been lately? It's been more up or down? It's more up and down, right? Have you noticed? It's been like a roller coaster. Before it used to be like 7 years up, and maybe there was a downturn every once in a while, but recently it's more like waves in an ocean. They just keep coming. Yeah? And the sooner we can get used to that, the better. Yeah? The sooner we can get used to this up and down stuff. Because if it just happens every once in a while, it can really, really scare you. And especially top-level executives, they're responsible for a lot. Maybe hundreds, if not thousands of employees that they're responsible for. So it can be quite scary to experience a downturn. Yeah, and when they believe that there's nothing they can do about it, that's even scarier. But the good news is something can be done. Yeah? If we know that if we can get better, we can make up for the downturn. Yeah, because even downturns at most, what's going to happen? Maybe a few percentage point down, maybe 3, 5, 10, maximum 20. That's already huge, 20, right? It rarely happens that much. But it's easy to imagine that we can get better, 3, 5, 10, 20%. Yeah, much easier to imagine. How does this happen? Now, if you're only looking for single growth, this talk may not be for you. It's okay, just focus on your food. Yes? In the real world, Starbucks, Limited Brands, and Best Buys, they say that each 0.1% increase in employee engagement brings money. Yeah? How much money is $100,000? It's over 4 million pesos, right? 0.1% increase. Is that a lot? That's very little, right? Imagine what 1% increase, 2, 3, 5, 10% increase in employee engagement would bring. That's a lot of money. Yeah? That's a lot of money. So what does that say? Really? Like what keeps HR awake? Is really talent management and creating radical improvements. You know? So 52% of what keeps HR awake is to finding, training, and developing the hires towards their top challenge. Huh? So let's, okay, the clicker's not working again. Can I have some help, please? Oh, there you go. So, there's a difference. You know, when we talk about executive coaching, it's not life coaching. What takes a more experienced practitioner? You think life coaching or executive coaching? Yeah, the higher you go in an organization, you cannot just have a life coach. You need someone that has experience, and someone can talk the business language. Someone can match the confidence of the person you're talking with. Imagine one time I spoke to the CEO and he goes, you know, one of my junior supervisors is coaching me. How well do you think that went? Do you think that went well? It didn't, because 9 months later he was fired. Yeah? It didn't help him. Yeah? There's a difference between life coaching and in executive coaching. We have so many areas that we need to talk about. Yeah? It's not just about marketing and leadership. You know? So, what do we talk about? We talk about things like inner states. How do I feel? Behavior. Many times in organizations we just talk about what's behavior, or what are the culture, and what creates culture. Does anybody know where culture comes from? Where does culture come from? Where does culture come from? Can anybody say? By the way, if you just want to shout out, it's okay. I like to interact with my audience. I'm not on TV, I'm actually here. Yeah, so it's a lot of fun to interact. Where does culture come from? Culture comes from the circumstances in which we find ourselves. You know, for example, Switzerland has 6 months of very cold weather. And it's a very mountainous country, right? And because of that, the planting season is very short. And if you plant too early, or you plant too late in Switzerland, your crop will either not ripen, right, or it will freeze if you plant it too early. So a culture of precision has been developed. Hence the watchmaking industry, right? In addition, you have to save up enough food and firewood to make it through the long winter, because otherwise your family would die. So a culture of saving got developed. Yeah? And hence the banking industry. Right? So each country has their own set of circumstances. Here we don't have a winter, and so the circumstances are very different, and hence the culture is different. Yeah? So there's nothing wrong with cultures are how they are, they just are the way they are because of the circumstances. Yeah? Good. So what are the coaching markets in Asia? Asia, the biggest coaching markets are still the biggest cities in Asia. It's Singapore, it's Hong Kong, and it's Shanghai. Yeah, those are the biggest coaching markets in the Philippines. In Asia. The Philippines is growing very strongly in terms of coaching, but it's not yet one of the biggest markets yet. Yeah, but it's very different from when I arrived 12 years ago. 12 years ago we did a lot of sessions just to show people what is coaching really. And I think most everybody today kind of knows what coaching is. Huh? And I think most of us have at least heard about it and what it can do. But still, sometimes there can be a confusion about what coaching really is. So. Okay, like sometimes it gets confused with psychology, or with psychiatry, or with counseling. What's the difference between coaching and all these? Psychology, psychiatry, and counseling are mostly about the past. While coaching is about the present and the future. And psychiatry is also about body chemistry, something we don't touch in coaching. We don't go into that. We're mostly interested in what's happening right now and what do you want to happen tomorrow. And also, coaching is not mentoring. If both are good, sometimes we recommend to have both a coach and a mentor. They complement each other. And most often, myself, as I find myself coaching higher and higher in the organization, the mentoring part becomes stronger because people in the higher part of the organization, they already have the confidence, right? And they want things faster. They're interested, not so much in the questions, but they're also interested in that. But they're also interested in frameworks. How can I apply that quickly in an organization? Very fast, they're interested in speed because they have very little time. Okay, so the coaching usually has phases. There's a contracting phase where we decide what it's going to look like. Then there's a discovery phase or a reality check phase where we do assessments and interviews, 360s, personality assessments like the DISC or the Enneagram. We may also include stakeholders in the coaching process where we interview them. And here sometimes coaches have different styles. Myself, I feel it's very important to have trust in the coaching relationship because without trust, not much is going to happen. Without trust, you don't have authenticity. And without authenticity, you don't have straight communication. And without straight communication, there's not much you can coach about. And so coaching really depends on the trust and the level of authenticity in the conversation. So when we do have stakeholder interviews in the coaching process, for example, we may have a SWOT conversation with their boss or with one of their peers or some of their subordinates so they can get a real picture for what's it like to be a leader in this organization. How am I being perceived by my boss? Because too often we only get the negative feedback. We don't get the full picture, only some of it. And it's good to hear it also from the peers and from the subordinates. No? And then we go through that, and then we go through the planning. It's like, what are we going to do? What is the goal? And lastly, the implementation. Yeah? And that can last anywhere between 3 to 6 months or even a year. Okay. Any questions? Good. So that's one-on-one, but we also offer team coaching, executive team coaching. But there's different ways. It could be structured very similar, or it could be structured differently, sometimes starting with a team engagement. And it's not a regular team building. We call it the strategic team building. And it's not the type where we run around and play games. It's much more than that. We put them through challenges where they have to discover insights that then will help them. If doing does not equal having, there's such a thing as being. And now how can we tell? There's so many different ways to judge. As you can see here on the slide, I'm not going to read it because we don't have time. And you can read it for yourself, right? So there's different ways of telling. And then the outcome would be something like this. I call this the tone scale or the success tone scale. It's a bit small, but it's basically a ranking of different ways of being. Different emotions. Some of my friends call this my angry birds. My angry birds. And what you can see is basically a ranking of emotions in terms of how effective they are in terms of achieving results out there in the world. Most organizations don't go as low as -40 or +40. They're more in a range from maybe 0.5 to maybe 4.0. The more successful ones, and then you have the super successful ones, and they may be in the 6.5 range, like Google. Very, very high on the tone scale. Let's see if we can get a bigger picture so you can see that a little bit. So Google would be up there in aesthetics, right? Very high. 4.0 is already enthusiastic. That would be a very successful organization. Yeah? But then it goes slightly down. It's cheerfulness, strong interest, conservative, mild interest, content, I'm okay. Right? Disinterested, boredom, monotony, and antagonism. And then we go further into anger. By the way, you can also tell if someone's going up or down the tone scale by how confident they are. Now, the higher you go on the tone scale, the more confidence. Also by the speed of their communication. You can tell if they're going up or down by how they're communicating. If you write an email and they're not communicating, they're probably pretty low down on the scale. They're not feeling so well. Yeah? The likelihood of success goes up as we go up the tone scale. Yeah? Here's some more examples. And by the way, what's quite common is that we treat people like they're part of a machine. And that would be then a negative 10. Now here, people being objects, you can see that's a negative 10, right? So, we have to move forward. No? This is another way of depicting the same thing. And then when I ask why teams don't work, they say, oh, we don't like each other, we don't do what we say, we don't understand each other, we have different styles, we lead differently, we're not inspired. You know, we have different goals, we show up for the paycheck. There's no greater purpose, we're surviving rather than thriving, it's no fun. And on and on and on. Right? That's when teams don't work. What's the formula for team success? Very similar to the one we had before, except there is one added factor, and I'm going to show you right now. Let's say this is a leader. This is taken from vector dynamics. Vector dynamics is a mathematical discipline that shows forces or energies going in a direction, represented here by an arrow. The arrow, the length of the arrow indicates the amount of energy, and the direction of the arrow shows where it's going. Yeah? So let's say this is a leader going into the direction of his or her goal. Then it has a team member who's like not fully aligned, going off somewhere else, not totally against the leader, but in a different direction. Then we have another two people, one is against the leader, but not very strong. And we have another one who's kind of like, it's kind of like there, but not there. Are there teams like this? Yeah, right? There's teams like that. So what does it now mean? Okay, so we can also add these arrows in this the same way. And we now know what the combined momentum is by connecting the beginning of the first arrow with the end of the last arrow, which kind of like looks like this. So I think we skipped it now. Okay, come on. Okay, there we are. So, as you can see, how much additional momentum is there for having 3 extra team members on this team? This leader has 3 extra team members. How much additional energy is there now out of those 3 team members towards the goal? The difference is D, maybe, what, 15%. Yeah. 3 extra people, but only an added momentum of 15% in this case. What's missing here? What would make this team more effective? What do you think? What would make this team more effective? If that team was aligned, if they were all pushing in the same direction, if they were all pulling in the same direction, what would that look like? Okay. It would kind of look like this. That's the potential of the team, right? If we added all the arrows, it would about double just the process of going in the same direction. We call it alignment. In the process of going in the same direction, in this particular scenario, we doubled the momentum in going towards the goal. Now, when we're all aligned, is that more fun or less fun? More fun or less fun when we're all aligned? It's more fun, right? And so the momentum may even increase beyond the doubling. yeah, in the process of alignment. It could be even 2.5 times, 3 times, or 4 times the momentum that we get out of the same people without any more effort. Yeah, it's the same amount of effort, no additional effort. So the formula is now for teams, it's alignment times being times doing equals having. That's the formula. Yeah, and that's what we do in coaching. That's what we do with individual coaching. That's what we do with team coaching. Yeah, we create this alignment and we increase the beingness. Because you know what? Most people already know what to do, but they don't do what they know. There's a gap between knowing and doing. Yeah? And the gap is filled by being. Good. We use future-based language. So there's a myth of steady growth. Normally, we think that organizations tend to grow very steadily with some minor ups and downs, and sometimes a blip down, and sometimes there's a blip up, right? But generally it goes up like that, you know? Normal? Pretty normal, right? Then if we increase the skills of a person, it may look like this. It goes up, and then it goes up, and then it continues in parallel, the growth, yeah? But what if we don't upgrade skills alone? What if we upgrade their way of being? For example, their confidence or their influential skills. Then what happens is, it's no longer running in parallel, but it changes the angle. And it goes up just a little bit. And then over time, the two lines, they don't run parallel, they become different. And the difference becomes greater and greater, as can be seen here. And in the beginning, the difference may be very small, but as time goes by, the impact gets greater and greater and greater. So what if we don't do this just once, but we do it several times? Yeah? Then we create such an increase. And what does it look like then? It looks like this. Yeah? And when we increase it like this, something becomes possible that wasn't possible before, which is extremely rapid growth. Yeah? Extremely rapid development. Personal power increases tremendously, and when you smooth that line out, it becomes an exponential line, which is why my book's called Develop Exponential Power. Yeah? This is how you do it. As human beings, we have emotional needs. I don't think we have time for that, but it's basically these 6 needs. If you want to then keep these people, you gotta fulfill those needs. This goes beyond Maslow. Yeah? We want to work in teams that we feel connected to, that we're part of a family, right? Yeah, we want to have certainty, variety, significance, growth, and contribution. Contribution meaning I give something back. I give something back maybe to the company and to the team. Yes. We work with some of these companies and had significant successes. Some of our clients, they come to us 2 weeks before bankruptcy, say, save us. The date's already set and we have to save them. Top 5 global food company increased their market share by 40% in less than 8 months. Yeah. Saved another one from the impact of the financial crisis. A BPO said, oh, in 2 months we're going to lose our client. It's an $11 million account and 800 Filipino jobs. Help us. It would take us 1.5 years. Just turn this around ourselves. We had to make miracles happen, yes? And if any of you want to know more about these things, please see us in person. There's very limited time here today. A German pharma company went from 9th in the market to number 4 in the market in a couple of years. And Samsung Electronics, when we worked with them 12 years ago, they said to us, we want to be more like Sony. Yeah? And then we compared the 2 companies using the 6 human emotional needs, and we saw that there was differences. That year they hired an additional 450 product designers based on that knowledge, that new knowledge, and they made an additional $4 billion the next year. $1 billion, not pesos, right? $1 billion. Okay, then we have a book. I'm quick to tell you about that because I want to write a book on power, even though there's lots of books on power out there. But I wanted, and my experience on those books was, it was more about manipulation. Thank you. I'll wrap up right now. I've been the sign that I need to wrap up, so thank you very much. Those books were more about manipulation and trickery. I didn't want to write about manipulation and trickery. I wanted to write about true power. Manipulation and trickery, I discovered, was more about force. And when we force someone, we take away freedom and power from them. Yeah. Freedom and choice, freedom and dignity. I wanted to write about the other side. When we remove freedom and dignity from someone, we lower their energy. Real power was increasing energy, nurturing energy, and therefore, surprisingly, it was more natural to women. Power is more natural to women. Yeah? So, I don't know if we have a Q&A, but this is my contact. You feel free to contact us. There's books out there for sale if you want to buy them, or please see me and have any questions. Feel free to ask.